Welcome to Coach's Corner, everybody. I'm your host, Coach Tripp, Paul Tripoli, along with a good friend of mine, Coach Mark Hobley.
Peace.
We have a special guest, as you can see on our screen, my former teammate at Alabama, Walter Lewis. Walter, thanks for taking the time, man. I know you're busy, man. It's been a while. It's been a while. Coach Miller?
It has
Coach
been a
Miller
while.
last time.
It has been a while, but the time we did have a chance to talk, it was like old times. So I'm looking forward to this.
We laughed so hard, my gosh, Walter. All right, folks. Walter is from Bruton, Alabama. T.R. Miller. Of course, T.R. Miller is the winningest high school in football in the state of Alabama. And you grew up there. And we're going to start at the beginning, Walt, because you know the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So I want to know a little tell everybody about your mom and your dad. Your mom was a nurse and your dad was a bricklayer, police officer, and he bartended at the country club. Talk about growing up in Bruton.
Well, Bruton for me was a unique place to grow up, and I had great parents. My mom, like you said, you've done your homework, Paul. My mom was a nurse, and my dad had 3 jobs, and he believed in working to support his family, and he was a brick mason by day, a bartender at the country club on Sunday afternoon and Saturday afternoon. And then on Thursday and Friday night, he was a policeman. So that was a serious combination in terms of his job descriptions and whatnot. And then on top of that, he was a deacon in the church. So
my gosh. Wow.
Coming and going.
And then my mom, she was a nurse, and she worked in the nursery with all of the babies. So for about 40 years, she had her hands on babies, and a lot of those babies would come up to her after she retired, and they were very appreciative of her being able to handle them when they were born. So she had an integral part in a lot of people's lives early on, in their families and stuff, getting to know them, and it kind of transcended to me growing up and being able to see people come and see her and thank her for what she had done in the nursery. So. And then also she worked a lot in the community as well as my dad. And growing up there, I mean, it was just a unique place to grow up. At one time, Bruton was one of the top 10 small cities in the country in terms of wealth pro capita. And there's a couple families there. They were in the oil business, and it was a lot of money come in and out of Bruton based on those families. The timber business was big there. The paper mill business was big, and it just had a unique blend of people there, and I had a chance to experience that. My parents did not teach, black, white, race stuff or anything like that. We just accepted people for what they were, and my mom, one of her best friends was one of those families that had the money. One of those families' wives, and I got to know their family growing up, and that family was integral in me being what I was able to be at Alabama as a quarterback. I grew up watching football at a young age. My dad and we would watch on Sundays after church. The NFL had Joe Namath, O.J. Simpson. I mean, all of the great teams back in the early 70s, late 60s. And I just kind of got enamored. The running back that I really liked was at the Browns. I'm trying to call his name right now. I can't call it, but I'll maybe call it in a minute.
Jim Brown? Jim Brown?
No, it wasn't Jim. Jim Brown was one. But
Lloyd Little,
the guy that came after Jim Brown, number 44.
Leroy.
Floyd Little.
It could have been Floyd Little, but I just really enjoyed watching the game, and I started watching at an early age. At the age of 4, my next door neighbor was 8. I was 4. We were playing this front yard. I broke my arm playing football, and had it in the cast and all that at the age of 4. And then as I grew older, that family that I was telling you about, their 2 sons, they were white kids, and they come take me, go hunting, fishing, and do stuff like that. And they invited me one Friday afternoon to go down to the Ford Motor Company to sign up for punt, pass, and kick. And I asked my mom what was okay. She said, "Yeah, it's okay." And I went down with them, and the next day we had the competition. And didn't practice, didn't know anything about it. All they told me to do, hey, you got to throw the ball, kick the ball, punt the ball straight enough to where it's close to the line to where you could get the points. And I ended up winning the 8-year-old category in my hometown. So the next week, my dad took me up to Montgomery. I competed up there, and I won. And then I went to Atlanta the following week and competed up there. And then they invited me back, for the next round, the fourth round, the quarterfinals, compete in Atlanta again. We competed that morning and then competed that afternoon. I think I competed against a kid from South Carolina and won there. And then the semifinals was in New Orleans, where we were competing against all the kids across the eastern part of the United States. And I was fortunate enough to win there. Competed twice, won that morning, and then won in front of the game. And then we went out to the Pro Bowl, 1971 Pro Bowl. I got a chance to meet Gene Washington, the Iron Curtain, Dick Butkus. You name all the players. I had a chance to meet them at an early age, and that's just an experience of a lifetime. And then I got out there, and I was a little bitty kid, but the kid that I was competing against, he was from Connecticut, and the dude had a mustache and a deep voice. And his dad was tall. I mean, golly, but I competed against him in the finals and during the game, and I actually won that. And it was a national televised deal. That was huge for my little town. And we flew back, and they had a homecoming parade and all that kind of stuff. So right then and there, God allowed me to experience some unique circumstances, at an early age, to where it really changed my life. I was, before I won punt, pass, and kick, I played linebacker, and I tried to be a little running back because that's what I grew up watching, running backs. But after I won, they moved me to quarterback because I was probably the best athlete at the time. So that's how I became a quarterback. And then what I did as a quarterback that kind of set the stage. I talked with Richard Todd about this from time to time, but I used to watch him in the early 70s because he was a quarterback that ran the triple option, and he ran. He was a runner and a thrower. So I kind of modeled my little game growing up after him, and he tells me all the time, "You modeled me, but you're much better than I am." But that's kind of how the ball got rolling, and the people in my hometown were very, very supportive. My coaches were, my teachers in school, the community, and it was things that we dealt with. I dealt with like everybody else during those times. That was the late 60s, early 70s. There was a lot of race relationship type things going on. I dealt with some of the kids in my community didn't quite understand what I had experienced and the attention that I was getting. And sometimes there were jealousies and things like that I had to contend with. But I look back at that, I look back at how God kind of orchestrated the whole thing, just experiencing that thing. I'll tell you an instance, that really made me just wonder, but a lot of people don't know this. I went to first grade public school. It was a black school that I went to, Booker T. Washington, and it was probably 2 miles from my house. So we would walk there, and I would walk there to go to school and stuff like that. I get in little scuffles on the way there and on the way back. So the second year, I don't know if I won any of those scuffles, but I got in them.
Mr. Lewis, you won. You won. I promise you.
It doesn't matter. But let me tell you, my mom worked at the hospital. I lived two blocks from white public school. Okay, this was before integration. 2
Right.
blocks from White Public School. My mom just did the math. He said, this don't make any sense. You know,
Right.
you walking a mile, 2 miles to school every morning, you know, and you can walk 2 blocks. It don't make any sense. So she got my sister to take me up to register. And guess what happened? The superintendent at the time, he stood in the door at the school just like George Wallace did at Alabama, you know, in the
Wow.
60s, you know, to keep the black lady out of school, Vivian Malone, from coming there. And I experienced that at an early age. So what my mom did, she left the hospital. She came home. She got my sister and myself, and we went up to confront. Well, she went up to confront the superintendent. I had nothing to do but sit there and watch. But I watched her, and and I know when she puts that finger up and she starts pointing in your face, I know she's meaning business. And she had that finger. I didn't know what she was saying, but I knew the finger language, you know. And the superintendent backed down. He relented, and he, you know, let us in. So the year before integration, you know, I was experiencing what was going on in our nation at the time.
Yeah.
And
Holy cow, Walt!
Say what?
Walt.
Your mom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
your
yeah.
mom.
That was just
something else.
that was just. I look back as I grow older and I experience, you know, life. You know, I look back how God kind of orchestrated the plan as it relates to the bigger picture, because I was dealing with black, white issues all growing up, but I was being helped to learn to deal with that type stuff, because as I went on and started playing high school football, I was the first black quarterback in my high school, first black quarterback in Little League. And then all these things are preparing me to be the first black quarterback at the University of Alabama, you know. And I'd already experienced a lot of things that you experience in life. And I'm just saying God kind of orchestrated and helped me get through, you know, that. And I'm just grateful for that, because even during that time, he brought some people into my life at the age of 8 that was teaching me about godly things to help me understand how God would do stuff. So I would try to do what God would do in all these situations, and it helped me manage, you know, the adversity that I was getting in my community from blacks and from whites. And you can't draw this or write this up. You know, this is how God orchestrated my life to get me ready for the bigger picture. You know, to be able to, you know,
absolutely, Walt.
So I'm just grateful
Absolutely.
for that, and just dealing all the things I dealt with growing up in my little town, Brewton, Alabama. I'm very grateful for, because it helped me grow to be a better person, and I'm just grateful for that. So that's just kind of a short story of how my life has evolved relative to sports and my little town, in terms of the support they gave me to help me orchestrate and do what I was able to do.
Folks, we're talking with Walter Lewis, former Alabama quarterback, played in 44 games, threw for over 4,200 yards, 29 touchdowns. 1983 was all SEC and second team All-American. Played for the Memphis Showboats in the USFL in 84, 85. I played against them in Canada in 86 when he played in Montreal. Yes, I got a pick against him. But wait a minute. He threw a touchdown pass against me too. So we were like 1 for 1 on that, Walt. You're a great team. You're a great teammate, Walt. But you were always so good, man, and focused. And you're always so good in school. And I wasn't the greatest in school, but you were always just so serious. And growing up the way you did, and I didn't even know you were a national punt, pass, and kick contest at Alabama. But you had to be serious, and all your life, God did prepare you for that role for Coach Bryant. But I want to talk about Coach Bryant a little bit, Walter, because he was instrumental in thousands of kids' lives. And in my life, he was a true inspiration, him and my dad, just like you and your dad. But I want to talk a little bit about Coach Bryant and how important he was, because he can measure a kid's heart better than any coach I have ever seen. And I coached for 20 years, so I've seen hundreds of coaches, playing for 20 years and coaching for 20 years. But Coach Bryant can measure a kid's heart Tell us a story about some of your one-on-one meetings, or maybe your pregame walks that Coach Bryant had, and the wisdom that he would spew to you.
Well, Paul, Coach Bryant. let me tell you before I got there how it worked out with Coach Bryant. Alabama didn't recruit me. I wasn't first on their list, which is okay with me because I wasn't a top recruited quarterback at that time. But the guy that Bama really wanted was John Bond, who went to Mississippi State. That's who they wanted, was John Bond.
My second most favorite quarterback in the SEC. You're number one. John Bond is my number two. Most favorite quarterback in the SEC.
Yeah. John Bond could run. He could run the triple option. He could. John Bond was a very good quarterback. He could run the triple option. But let me tell you, I started praying back the summer before the season started. Back in the fall, back in the winter before the season started. And I'm like, Lord, show me where I need to go. Right. So I just started praying and just asking just to show me. So as we get going through the winter, going into 1980, we get to the fall. Guess what happens? John Bond commits to Mississippi State, and he commits like in September or October. And I didn't know this was going on, but our doctor, family doctor, he had written a note to Coach Bryant. He said, "Look, I don't know what y'all are doing, and I don't know if y'all really interested in this Lewis kid." He said, but he told Coach Bryant this in a letter, and I didn't know he had wrote this letter until my sister passed away in 2002. And he came to me, he told me, he said, "Walt, I wrote him a letter." He said, in that letter, I told him, he said, "This guy, if he were not to ever play a down for you at Alabama, it'd been worth it for you all to have him in the have him in the dorm." Wow. And I'm like, "Dude, you said that about Walt, me?" He said, "Absolutely. I wrote that to Coach Bryant." So soon after that, Coach Bryant actually came and visited me personally. And he came to my house, and he asked me the question, "Have you always dreamed of playing in that red jersey?" And of course, I said, "No, I always dreamed of playing in a red jersey. I didn't know what the red jersey was." I said, but I have always dreamed of playing for the Buffalo Bills or in the pros. So right then and there, I basically broke it down to Coach Bryant. Like, no, I'm not a sense to come there. You know what I'm saying? And but Coach Bryant just, he, like Tripp was saying, he understood my heart. He understood how things work. And my mom asked my mom a question, asked my dad a question, said, "Look, Mr. Lewis, you have any questions?" My mom asked, said, "Well, look," he said, "I know my son Dwayne, that's my middle name, can play football and he can play quarterback." He said, "I don't want you to recruit him just to get him on the team and set him on the bench so somebody else can't get him." And Coach Bryant told my mother, said, "Well, look, if I'm recruiting him and I think he can play and he comes in and can prove that he can play, he's going to play. I don't care what color skin he is." And that's what Coach Bryant had to say there. And I took it from this standpoint is, anyone, if you give someone an opportunity, that's all anybody can ever ask for is an opportunity. Right. And he gave me an opportunity to do it. And he followed through on that too. When I got there as a freshman, you talking about I was focused. There was a lot going on in the community as it relates to that. My dad worked at the country club. There were bets on the table that when I got there, that they would move me to defensive back or move me to another spot. They've just bet. I mean, they right in front of him. That's some of the talk or whatever. But but let me tell you, I had a mindset that I wanted to play there and play at the quarterback position. And that was a year, I think it was 78 or 79 is when Rocky came out.
Yeah,
the
sure.
Movie Rocky.
Right after. Yeah, one year after us.
The Rocky song. When I signed to go to Alabama, I made up my mind this is where it's gonna be. And I knew what I had to do to train. I had a cousin that played at Southern Miss, he told me, he said, Walt, the first thing that goes when you get to camp are your legs. He said, you got to make sure your legs are whatever. So,
wow.
So, and when I signed, that day I signed, my high school football coach, he was against me going to Bama because he didn't think they was going to give me a shot. But I didn't think about him. I was just thinking about what was going to be the best situation for me. And when I made my visit to Bama, I had a peace. I had a real peace about going there. They had committed 5 quarterbacks, you know, and I was number 6.
Wow.
It didn't matter to me how many they had. And these were top-notch quarterbacks. Andy Martin.
Hey, Walt, hey, brother. I know. Hey, brother. I was number 6 on the depth chart as a safety.
You was one of them on the depth chart?
Yeah.
Hey, when I got there, had about 14, 15 quarterbacks on the depth chart. I didn't know who. I had no clue who all these guys were. You know,
who all them guys?
So when I got there, you know, when I signed that day, I felt real bad because I know I wasn't getting support of people that were, you know, like my coach. He was close to me, but I wasn't having his support, and I knew that. And that kind of disheartened me a little bit. But the day after I signed, I started running the mile. And I was running the mile with bleachers. And I started training like Rocky. Okay?
Yeah.
And I mean, I would run every day after work. I would work from 7 to 4:30 with my dad in the summer. But when I got off, I'd get home, I'd eat, I'd drink some Kool-Aid and eat, and I would run up to the football field. That was probably 4 or 5 miles, and I run home. But what I would do, I would run the 220s, the 100s, and I do all my running up there. We didn't leave there to 8:30 that night, you know. But I was training to get my mind and my legs and my body in shape, and because I knew it was going to be a challenge, you know. And when I got to Bama, I mean, I was in shape better than anybody that was there, and the mental side of it came along with that. So y'all are really getting the goods today.
Hey, Walt, it was a 12-minute run. I remember it distinctly. A 12-minute run. How far could you go in 12 minutes? And after about 2 laps, the lineman started lapping my roommate. I won't say names, but Coach Bryant said, "Hey, number 67, pack up your shit and go home." I was like, wait a minute. He just cut my roommate, and I was happy. I was the happiest guy. I was dancing
Bohanna
around.
Was your roommate?
I was happy. Yes, I was happy.
Was John Bohanna your roommate?
Yep, he
was. It was a mile we had to run, and he didn't make the first turn. You know, I would love to know what Bohanna is just to see him. I would love to chat with him, just to holler at him. Do you know where he is? Oh my gosh,
well, hey, that was quite an eye opener. You were ready for Coach Bryant. Coach O'Leary got me ready. We played a lot of games. I think one of the coldest games, Walt, and I had Cornelius Bennett on my show a couple of weeks ago. And he played years in Buffalo where they get that lake effect. And he said the 83 Boston College game was the coldest game he's ever played.
That was the cold. Oh, that was so messed up. That was so messed up.
Messed up is right.
You know,
the power went out. The wind was blowing.
Coach Bryant always told us to know the temperature, know the weather, and just be prepared in a lot of areas. And that night, so when we got to the hotel, I looked at the news just to see what the weather was going to be. And the forecaster predicted 52 and sunny. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, it's gonna be on. It's gonna be. And shoot, man, we get out there and the north wind starts blowing. I mean, that temperature dropped with the rain, man. I mean, it dropped down to below 32 or whatever. I don't know, but that was really, really cold. You're right. That
the
was one of the
wind was
coldest
blowing
games.
40 miles an hour, Walt. The power went out.
Right.
The TV feed went out. My brother was watching in L.A. Nobody could even watch the game after that.
Well, I just that's the first game. That's the first time I ever questioned why I was playing football.
said,
I was so mad. Hey, I was telling Biscuit, man, those guys were so cold because, bless them, man. They've never believed it. They've never been in those kind of conditions before. I'm from there. I'm from Syracuse, so I kind of, I was kind of used to the, brutal conditions.
You're crazy.
And then TV timeouts, they were just wanting to huddle up and get warm.
Well, Trip, did you play in the Liberty Bowl? Did you play in the Liberty Bowl?
Coach Bryant's last game. I was there. I didn't play, but I was there.
Hey, Trip. Now it was 14 degrees with ice shingles coming up out of the ground. Now that was a cold game. That was a cold game.
It was like 70 all week and 30.
Hey, that was a game Rocky got knocked out on like the kickoff or something.
Rocky Colburn.
Yeah, Rocky Colburn. I played a little baseball with Rocky.
Yeah, he's from here.
Yeah.
I remember Jeremiah 3 interceptions. That's what I remember, Jeremiah Castile.
Yeah, me too, because Jeremiah bailed Walt out several times in terms of getting those interceptions, because I had probably thrown one, But he had an outstanding game, there. But Trip, you wanted me to mention something about Coach Bryant, though.
Yeah,
I have to
pregame walks and talks. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that I really admired about Coach Bryant was this. He was a fair man. And like I say, if he offered opportunity, he knew what the times were. He knew and understood black and white. He understood where you came from on the black and white side. If you were affluent, he understood that. He understood all the parameters because he was in the middle. He grew up poor, like a lot of black folks grew up during those times.
Well, some of his best friends were black when he was a kid,
yeah,
Walt.
Yeah, I understand. And but also he grew up that way. Hold on one second, guys.
Okay.
He grew up that way, but he was a white person to be around those personalities to understand that too. So when you have those combinations in place where you can relate to a lot of different circumstances or a lot of different situations, he had it, and he knew how to employ it to where he could get the most out of you as a player. And yes, he knew and understood the heart. And see, great coaches know and understand the heart. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what drives a person. What's in your heart is going to come out of your mouth. It's going to come out how you walk and how you talk.
Right.
That's the way it is. And when you can understand that, you can get the most out of anyone relative to how they perform under circumstances that you put them in. And Coach Bryant knew how to operate under those circumstances as a coach.
Yes, he did. Yeah, God knows your heart. God knows your heart. Matter of fact, Kerry Good has a little chapter in his book about that. And Monday nights, Kerry comes on my show and we do a Good and Faithful Servant. We deep dive into his book.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Kerry, I love Kerry Good. I mean, I learned so much from that kid as a freshman when he came in. He was a staunch player, staunch kid. I learned a lot about Kerry Good as a player. And it's not surprising me at all in terms of how he's handling his situation right now. This is a hand that he was dealt in life, and he's playing it to the fullest. And I'm just happy to see him utilize the situation that he's in to be able to bless people. In his book that he has and some of the things that he says, I'm like, man, this is so ridiculous. This is so really good.
I know.
My hat's off to him in terms of what he's done and how he's lived his life, thus far.
His wisdom is amazing. His Facebook posts are outstanding.
Yeah, all the time. It's always, he comes up with some things that I'm like, man, how did you figure this out?
Me too. I wonder myself, man. That's a God gift. That's definitely a God gift, no doubt. I want to rest in peace. Shout out Lenny Patrick, our good friend, teammate. He passed away this week, so I wanted to say, Lenny, he's knocking on heaven's door, and he's trying to get in that classroom, and they locked it on him, and he's saying, Lord, this is Lenny, let me in. Remember that knocking on that door?
Well,
That's Lenny's game.
let me say this. Lenny had with me and Karoof, we were talking about Lenny the other day and just how he was. I mean, very playful. Everybody enjoyed him. He always brought something different to the table, you know, and he had issues at times doing the things that Coach Bryant wanted him to do, and Coach Bryant would discipline him as a result of that. But if you recall the Auburn game of I think it was Coach Bryant, it was 80, was it 81? Yeah, it was 81 Auburn game. Coach Bryant won 315.
Oh, there it is right there, yeah. 315.
315, yes. The spring before that game, Lenny was put in Coach Bryant's doghouse because he wouldn't do what Coach Bryant wanted him to do. So Coach Bryant challenged him on the football field a day of practice where he was going against the first team. And he made Lenny run that ball, the sweep, the same play about 10 times.
I remember.
I don't know if you remember that.
I remember that day.
But the defense, he was just trying to get it out of Lenny, and Lenny quit. Lenny quit that day, and we were like, Lenny, let's stay down. But fast forward, that game that he ran that run, and winning the becoming the top. Coach Bryant becoming the winningest coach in college football history. It was behind. That was the same run that he ran in practice that spring, and the determination that he had in that run during the game. I really think what happened in the spring was a prelude to Coach Bryant.
Oh, that was the same call?
It was the same call.
Wow, it was the greatest run by running back out.
Great. It was a great run, and it's just hats off to Lenny, to where he did not quit, and he learned a lesson. I would guess from what happened in the spring. So you just never know, but Coach Bryant put him in a position where he had to come to the table, and and it was tough on him during the spring. But hey, he had an opportunity to redeem himself in that game, and I'm just grateful that he did. And he has a seat in the history of Coach Bryant becoming the greatest the winningest college football coach of all time. So
he does.
So
do you, Walt. Being the last starting quarterback in Coach Bryant's career, man.
Well,
Coach Bryant was calculating about everything. He was calculated everything he did and said. It was calculated. So for you to be chosen as the first African-American quarterback at Alabama, you had to be special. And Coach Bryant knew that, Walt. He knew you were special. He loved you. Talk about a pregame speech, or maybe the 2 days. Talk about the 2 days before he passed away when you gave it to him in the Liberty
Bowl. Let me give you some history.
Yeah.
Let me give you some history, Trip. A lot of people may not know this, but his last game, Coach Bryant and I got into a heated argument on the sideline, about Lenny Patrick. Okay. And who he wanted to substitute in. We had a 3rd and 1, and it was a key situation. So he calls timeout, and I run to the sideline. He wants to sub two running backs. One of them happened to be Lenny Patrick, and the other, and I didn't want Lenny in at that moment, not at the fullback position, because he hadn't had enough experience there. But we got into a heated argument where it was an all-out brawl on the sideline for about 20 minutes, about 20 seconds. So Stepman Shealy was behind him, like waving, no. And then Coach Bryant just politely grabbed me in the chest and just got my shirt and turned it like that, And he looked me in the eye. He said, "I'm the leader of this team, not you. If you had been doing what you supposed to been doing that last series, we wouldn't be in this situation." So immediately I shut up and I started apologizing to him during the whole team. What had happened in that series prior to that? The series prior to that, I'd thrown an interception. Okay. Yeah. They called that same play again. Okay. And I threw the ball right back to the same guy I had thrown it to in that previous series. And you know how you come off the field, I come off the field on the 20. I didn't even go for Coach Bryant, because I was so embarrassed, but we got into a heated argument about the substitution. I wanted Caruth and Joe Carter because I knew they'd be beneficial in that situation,
Yeah, right.
And
Right.
then 2 days, then after the game, we went home for break, and then we came back from break, and then 2 days before he passed away, I went by his office.
Wow.
And Coach Bryant's office, he had a chair, he had a couch in there that didn't have any springs in it.
Right.
So I think it was on purpose because he wanted everybody to know who was in charge. So when you sat down on that couch, you went to the floor. That made you be looking up at him at his desk. And so I sat down and I went straight to the floor. So I'm looking up at Coach Bryant. I said, Coach Bryant, I said, look, I am so sorry for disrespecting you out there during the game. And Coach Bryant told me, he said, Walt, he said, man, that's just a part of the game. It's just a part of the game. I'm like, I said, well, Coach Bryant, I disrespect you. He said, that's a part of the game, Walt. Let me tell you what was going on, I think, there. I think Coach Bryant at that moment when he and I got into it on the sideline, I think he realized or I was exuding what he wanted from his quarterback. And that's to be a leader and to take charge. And that's what was going on during that moment. I was taking charge. I was standing up for what I wanted and all those types of things. And he liked that in his players. And he had respect for it. And that's how he responded to me when I went into his office. 2 days later, he passed away.
Oh, my God.
And then,
Pat Trammell. Hey, Pat Trammell would give it to him, and he loved Pat Trammell too.
Well, and that's what he wanted to see in his players. And let me say this. I know it was something that he wanted because about 20 years later, I went to an event. That his son wanted me to come to. And I was telling this story to Major Ogilvie out in the parking lot. His son walks up and gets in the listens to the conversation or overheard the conversation. Paul Jr. had tears in his eyes. And he said, Walt, he said, you're not going to believe this. He said, but that incident that happened on the field and you coming to talk to Papa was one of the last conversations I had with him before he passed. So it meant something to Coach Bryant that I came by to talk with him. And it meant something to his son that he shared that with him. And I think he saw another side of Walter that he's been looking to see for a long, long time at that position for me. So I'm grateful for that opportunity, and I'm grateful for, having a chance to be that quarterback, his last quarterback during that time. So.
Wow. Yeah, he was something else, Walt, man. So are you, man. We're so proud of you, buddy.
Yes.
We love you, man.
Thank you so much for your words of wisdom.
Yeah,
man.
That was so good, Walt, man. We'll have to do it again. We got so many stories that we probably haven't even told.
We have 4 or 5 chapters on your show, Trip. To tell it all. It's just so much to tell. It's just so much. But look, I appreciate you having me on here.
Hey, promise you come on. Hey, promise you come on again. We'll tell some more stories.
I'll come back and get on. I certainly will.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Walt. Thank you, brother.
Guys. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Peace, brother.
Yes, sir.
Love you. God bless you, buddy. Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Wow.
Incredible.
It was an incredible man. He was an incredible person, man. What an incredible teammate. He was that recruiting class in 1980 after Alabama won 78-79. I walked on the field as a walk-on and I went, holy shit, what am I doing here? I mean, they were so good, man. I was like, it took me a while to adjust to their like intensity, their focus, their speed, their strength, their everything, man. It took me forever to adjust. But man, That was great, Hobbs.
Incredible. That's got to be one of the top ones.
One of the top of all time, because he was your favorite.
Yeah.
He was a great teammate. He was a great teammate too.
Man, wow. You know? That little area coming out of Bruton over there, Coach. They've turned out some great men over there. You know.
That's a big honor, man. You know how it is.
Yeah,
your mom and dad were
were
in that. In the '60s, were educators
right there
in the front lines.
Yeah, I was one of the first ones to integrate.
Right, you were one of the first ones to integrate in the public school here. And
that's even bigger over there in a place like Bruton over there.
Yeah, can you imagine his mom going in there and shaking down the superintendent with that finger? You better up, Mama. You just picture.
But like he said, he had a lot of people.
He had a lot of help.
And that was the same with my situation.
Right, you did too, and we did too, man. Without us, we would have never got as far as we did without help from people, champions. Angie calls them your champions in your life.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
We're going to talk a little bit more about some of the champions that were in Walter's life, maybe in another episode, as we'll have part 2 coming up. But watch these great sponsors. Without them, this just wouldn't be possible. Have a great sports weekend, everybody. Peace.
There's a reason why Hill Kelly in Pensacola is the #1 selling Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram dealer between Jacksonville and New Orleans. While other dealers have taken advantage of a competitive market with higher prices, Hill Kelly has discounted prices to the lowest of the year. And Hill Kelly in Pensacola won't surprise you with excessive charges beyond the selling price. Come see why people from Milton, Pace, Foley, Bay Minette, Daphne, Gulf Shores, Mobile, and beyond are driving to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to buy their next new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram. At Hill Kelly, the bottom line price and your satisfaction are what really matter. So before you sign, check the bottom line and make the trip to Hill Kelly in Pensacola to see what true local ownership can do for you. At Hill Kelly Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Highway 29 in Car City, Pensacola. Or shop online 24/7 at hillkellydodge.com. When it comes to bottom line pricing, nobody beats a Hill Kelly deal. Nobody.
That's you trying to fix the plumbing yourself to save a few bucks. Doing things yourself doesn't always end well. The same goes for insurance. That's why Auto Owners works with local independent agents who tailor coverage to meet your needs and offer discounts for life, home, car, and business insurance. Because sometimes you need a professional to get the job done right. That's simple human sense.
Are you riding around in a filthy vehicle? Dirty car no more. Visit Ronnie's Car Wash today to get it shining in no time. They have 3 convenient locations with another coming soon. The unlimited monthly wash packages start as low as $14.95 per month with free vacuums, multi-purpose spray, and towels. Visit them in Gulf Breeze, Navarre, Fort Walton, and soon Crestview. Don't wait, wash today. Be sure to see Ronnie's Car Wash on Facebook to see the latest specials and discounts. You'll be riding and shining in no time.
75 years of service in high tech today. It's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348. High tech is a term often applied to advanced services and products in today's marketplace. And today, glass is much more than a simple painted brittle, see-through stuff we hit baseballs through when we were kids. Glass is now a product with unique flexibility in both performance and application. And Pensacola Glass Company is growing right along. That's Pensacola Glass Company at 433-8348.
Barnes Heating and Air is a proud sponsor of Alabama football, serving the entire Pensacola community for over 50 years. Barnes Heating and Air is passionate about providing customers with world-class air conditioning and heating repairs, sales, and installation. Barnes Heating and Air is family-owned, insured, and committed to quality. For a free estimate, call 478-0141. Barnes Heating and Air is #1 in customer service with service calls 7 days a week. Call Barnes Heating and Air 478-0141 and roll Tide.